Once again, this doesn't replace a live instructor. Okay, we're going to talk real quick about how to properly clean firearms and how to store firearms. But we're not going to get into too much detail on the cleaning because that's what your manual's for. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard of a negligent discharge when somebody was cleaning the gun, I was cleaning it, it just went off. Man, that's not an accident, that's a failure to apply firearm safety rules. You should not have any ammunition in the room, period, when you're cleaning your gun. Okay? Okay, that being said, when should you clean your gun? You should clean it every time you use it, or if you have stored it for a long time, because when cleaning your gun, you've got to function check it, which is why you've got to take your ammunition away. And that reinforces your operation of the handgun. If this is your first gun or your first type of gun, like first rifle, first shotgun, whatever, the easiest thing to do is just go to the gun store, the Walmart, and buy a kit. You know, it'll say rifle cleaning kit, and then it'll give you a range of calibers. Okay, but you could buy the pieces, ad hoc, and that's what I do if I buy a new gun. I'll just go get new brushes. But you're going to need a cleaning rod and bore brush of the right caliber for your gun, and the attachment that screws into the cleaning rod to hold your cleaning patches. You're going to need patches. You're going to need gun oil and bore cleaning solvent, but you need to use stuff for guns, right? If you use WD-40, it's not going to do the same thing as gun oil, okay? You're going to need a small brush, and a toothbrush works great, and a clean cloth and an old t-shirt works great there. But let me just warn you, because I've done this. If you go into the bathroom and get a toothbrush, you go in the laundry room and get a t-shirt, you better ask mama that it's okay for you to use, because I have inadvertently used stuff that was not ready to be trashed. Now, the cleaning process is pretty simple, and if you don't know what to do, your manual will tell you. But basically, you just want to put your bore brush on your cleaning rod, put some solvent in there, and if you can go from the rear of the barrel, go from the rear, but if you can't, going from the muzzle will work too. You just want to scrub the bore with that brush to clean out any residue. Okay. Once you've scrubbed it till you've knocked loose all the carbon and stuff, take off that bore brush and put a cleaning patch and do that until it comes out clean. Once the cloth is coming out clean, you want to put a little bit of oil on a patch and run through the bore. All right. You want to brush off all the dirt and material out of the gun's action, and per your policy, per the manual, you want to lightly coat the gun in oil, but a little bit is all you need. If you use too much, you actually can get dust to turn basically into grit and to basically act like sandpaper in your gun. So follow your firearm instruction manual on how to clean. Okay, that's just a down and dirty introduction. All right, if you're going to have a gun, it's your responsibility to be able to store it safely. And as you can see from the pictures, there's several different devices to do that, like gun cabinets, gun safes, hard cases, gun rugs. And all this stuff does is just deny access to unauthorized individuals. You know, a thief's going to get in here, but you're responsible for your gun even when it's stored, so you need to make sure there's some steps in place to keep people like your kids and your nephew and whatever from getting into the fires when they're not supposed to, okay? No one who is not properly trained and authorized to use your firearm should ever be allowed unsupervised access, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that they have to have a class. You know, you can coach your wife, or your wife can coach you on the particular gun, and if y'all want to consider that trained, then that's okay, all right? You also need to store your ammunition separate from the guns, okay? You know, I keep my ammo in one room and my rounds in another. You know, it's your gun and it's your life, right? And you have to decide what you're going to do. And your individual situation is going to dictate that. You know, when I got out the Marines, I was able to rent this farmhouse, and basically the guy let me live there pretty much for free if I would keep people from messing with his cows. Big 500-acre spread, right? I was all by myself, and I could have guns everywhere. You know, if I put a gun in a Ziploc bag and put it in the toilet bowl, then nobody would have got to it, okay? But a little later, And I started having kids come around the house, and then I had to be a little more careful because kids are naturally curious about guns, right? And as an adult, as the gun owner, I'm both legally and morally responsible to make sure that the children were not able to get to the guns, by themselves on their own, right? My dad was a cop, and growing up, he told me, boy, if I ever catch you with my gun, I'll beat you, right? And I believed him. So what did I do? I made sure he never caught me, right? So you need to be careful with your gun storage, because just because you've got it put up somewhere doesn't mean your kid won't find it in your underwear drawer. The main rule is you have to store your guns so they're not accessible to untrained or especially unauthorized individuals. I'm not a big fan of firearm locking devices, but locking devices are things like trigger locks or cables that attach to the gun to make sure the gun's not able to be used, okay? And being a mechanical device, they're subject to failure, and you should never put them on a self-defense gun that's ready for use. You should never put anything that goes on the trigger of a gun on a loaded gun. We talked a little bit about this in the safety video, but basically personal defense guns are different in that the rule says your gun should be locked away, unloaded, unless it is ready to be used. However, you never know with your self-defense gun when you might use it. Therefore, you can consider a self-defense gun to always be in use. I'm not going to get into too much of our own plan at our house, but let's just say I've got 10 guns, all right? The majority of those guns are for gun classes. However, I might have a 12-gauge pump shotgun in case Thug Bucket sneaks in the house at the night, right? And I may or may not have a revolver for my wife to hold as she calls 911, okay? Those two guns would be considered self-defense guns, and we would keep them loaded. Everything else would be in the gun safe and the round somewhere else, all right? All right, to summarize, it's easiest to get a kit for your cleaning material, and you should only use oils designed for your firearm, WD-40 and some of that other stuff. Some of it will actually melt your polymer guns or deactivate the primers in your rounds. You want to make sure all the ammunition is out of the room when you're cleaning your guns. Firearm storage is your responsibility, and you need to keep your guns unloaded, locked away, ammunition stored separately when they're not in use. All right, like I said, please comment, please talk to us. That way we know that what we're doing is actually fulfilling your needs, okay? As always, you can catch us online, www.tngun.com.